What my research group CIBER do, they're like voyeurs of the cyberspace. What they do is they watch people's behaviour in the virtual world. We've developed a technique by which we can actually trace the footprints that people leave behind them when they use a mobile phone to get a service, or whether they use the internet, or whether they use a laptop, or an iPad, or an iPhone. And when these people move around in that virtual space, we can actually observe them, we can monitor them, we can evaluate them. So what we are seeing is the behaviour of millions of people, young, old, in all kinds of services, behaving very differently than they used to behave in the physical space. So that's the background. So we are voyeurs, we watch. We have very sophisticated computer systems that can observe, monitor in real time. So the most important aspect of the behaviour that we've been watching is reading. Because, you know, this is how we gain our knowledge. You know, we go to libraries and we get knowledge, and students get knowledge and they read, and we're told to read, and we're told to read lots. And there are libraries and bookshops and all of those kinds of things. So reading has been seen to be a very, very important activity. Our perception has always been that people take a book, buy a magazine, and read everything in it. Because we don't know. We see them take it away, we see them bring it back, and in the old days, there wasn't much variety, there wasn't much choice. Now, when we look in the virtual space, we now observe how people read today. And in fact, it is shocking. They hardly spend any time on any one thing. What they love doing is jumping around, multitasking, moving from this, opening a window, closing a window, going back. Nobody spends any length of time on any one thing. Libraries will migrate into the virtual space. If you ask a young student, if you ask my daughter, you say, libraries, she'll take out her mobile phone, her smartphone, she'll say, Dad, that is my library. So libraries haven't disappeared, they've become digital. The physical library will go because people want information on the go, culture on the go, knowledge on the go as they move around. And that is the future. And in 2 years' time, we know that the main platform for accessing information will be the mobile phone. There's a word in English called disintermediation, and it's a very powerful word. It's perhaps more powerful word than digital. It means because we can access information libraries on our phone, in Starbucks, it means that we miss out on the middle person, the librarian, disintermediated. We do it ourselves. We are our own librarians. We make choices about information. We store it and we gather it together. So we've become our own librarian. Social networking is, in a sense, taking us back to our roots, our old days. If you like, before books, there was an oral culture. We passed knowledge around by storytelling. Social networking is going back to our roots, but it's done in a digital world, and it is done globally and internationally. It's another challenge to our existing institutions, and it's one that they're going to have to think of. What if, for instance, my daughter Victoria gets much of her information on Facebook through her connections? You know, they pass information around. Now, they do it amongst themselves. This is a group of young people exchanging, gathering information. Librarians and libraries are going to have to completely rethink their role. Well, I'm going to be honest, because you know, I've been head of a library school for 14 years. I've been teaching librarians, training them. So I'm a pretty good observer. And the problem is so far librarians haven't dealt with this at all well. And if they're not careful, they will completely fade away. because the challenges of people doing it themselves, Google Scholar, Amazon, lots and lots of commercial people are now providing digital libraries. Yeah? Publishers are the new librarians. Publishers have content, their own content, they charge for content, they have a very good model. Why do publishers need librarians? If publishers disintermediate from librarians or move away, then in fact libraries are going to have real problems. So what's the possibilities for librarians in the digital universe? Three things. One is they have to move into the digital world, yes? They have to give up the physical world and move into the digital world and operate in the digital world, yeah? Now this is hard to understand, but this is what they're going to do, because the behavior of what happens in the physical world compared to the digital world is so totally different that you can't take that model and move it into that world. You've got to go into that world and actually see. So that's one thing. That's what I would recommend they do, right? But they're not doing it because they're scared of the digital. They don't know what is going on in the digital because it's anonymous, yeah? It's remote. People are behaving away from the library. The second one is, and I'm actually doing this in practice, I've done this at University College London with the information school I run there, is what I've done is set up a publishing course. Because the second thing that librarians could do, they can only do it if they're young to a certain extent, is they should become publishers. Because the space, the territory, the information has moved into the publisher's domain. Yes? The librarians here, their work has moved into the publisher's domain. You know, Elsevier, Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, Wiley, Blackwell, Taylor and Francis, they're all building huge digital libraries. They have lots of money. They have lots of opportunities. Many of the jobs that librarians once did are being done by these people. So we set up a publishing school in my information school, next to librarians. And one of the reasons is to give people an opportunity to practice those information skills in a vibrant industry. In the UK, publishing is the 5th biggest industry, bigger than agriculture. You know, hugely profitable, global, millions of jobs. So in a sense, because the web breaks down the barriers between professions, you have to understand sometimes your profession actually changes and becomes another profession. So my advice is to many of them, go into publishing. This is for those people that can't do that, because there are people in libraries that love the book, love bibliographies, love the history of it. There will be a role, but that will be a museum role. It will be to see what books are like. You know, like the British Library. British Library is thousands of people come in there. You know, they buy coffee cups with the British Library, they study, they research, their Wi-Fi. They love it. You can see old books, medieval books. You can see, well, soon people won't know what a contents page is. People don't understand the concept of a collection in a digital space. They think a collection is Google. It's not. You know, collections are managed resources with relationships. And museums are successful because they tap the tourist, they tap lots and lots of things. Museums, the Leonardo da Vinci exhibition in London, you can't get a ticket. You know, it's just unbelievable. Millions of people go. Well, we're going, for those people that believe in the book, believe in the physical form, don't want to flee into the physical space, then we need to start thinking of creating museums around books and what book reading, what it was like, book binding, all of those kinds of things. so that we don't lose that part of our culture. So that's a very different route. I'm going to give you a story to illustrate this. And it's a story connected with my daughter, who is the Google generation. She is the new digital reader. And when I was studying the footprints of all of these people in this virtual space, and I kept seeing that they never spent much time anywhere, I thought at first I was wrong. Because why? Why, if you were given the world's resources, do you just skip, flip all over? Surely people would spend, and systems designers at the time thought people did. There was a word called stickiness, site stickiness. Try and get the person to go deep. But nobody was doing this. So I was in my house where I do my work, and I was trying to understand why. And I thought my methods were wrong. And I was getting irritated because I couldn't understand. It said, very short, but people thought people did long. Am I right? Are they wrong? Anyway, I was wandering around the house thinking, what is it? And my daughter, Victoria, was in the sitting room watching the television. Okay? But she watches the television like this. And she has a remote device, and she flicks, 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 flicks. I never watch television like that. So I was annoyed. I was annoyed because I couldn't work out my problem, and I was annoyed because I saw a form of behavior that I thought was bad. Yeah? Flick, flick, skip, skip, skip. This is what you do in the digital world. So this is bad behavior I'm seeing. So I said to her, I said, Victoria, can't you make up your mind what you're watching? And she said, Dad, I'm watching it all. And that's what is happening in the virtual space. We are watching it all. There is so much there. There is so much excitement. We don't want to miss it. And our brains actually give us a little buzz, a little adrenaline to find things, but not to read things. So we like finding and we like looking. So the question based on Victoria, which you're asking, is her form of behavior, and here's another English word which I don't know, is that dumbed down? Is that a dumbed down, a poorer form of reading than I did? Yes? Is it or is it not? So the whole question we have to ask ourselves is, reading like that, or better than that? Or is that better than that? Now there lies the really big problem that we have to deal with, right? The first thing is, what is our value judgment about what I've told you? What do we actually believe? Okay. But we can be certain of one thing, is there are certain things that we have to know in detail. If you're a neurosurgeon, if you are an ambassador in Iran, you are going to have to read detailed documents. You can't just do this. Someone has got to know detail, right? The second thing is, in the digital space, it's almost impossible to tell whose information it is, right? So young people today are disputing facts because their Facebook group says this is not true, right? Whereas before in the library, there were facts. The book was called Whitaker's Almanac or whatever else, Encyclopedia, and they were facts. And we all accepted they were facts. But in the digital space, you cannot tell whose information it is. And sometimes it's very questionable where this information comes from. So this is surely a role for the digital librarian, is that somebody has got to help the digital user, the Google generation, to be able to ascertain which is good, which is bad, which is the best. And librarians have come up with a term, I'm not sure how it is in Spanish, called information literacy. And they believe by teaching young people how to be literate in this world, to pass on some of the skills of the librarians to them so that they can choose the right information. That is a worthy thing, but their approach has been wrong, because young people don't think they're illiterate. Yeah, they think they're very literate, you know. They think that's it. So when you say, you have a poor form of behavior and I'm going to teach you, they don't like it. There was, for instance, every country in the world has a problem with drugs, young people and drugs. Yeah? And usually we lock people up or we put them in jail because they do. Someone was saying on the radio, why don't you tell young people that in fact you should have drugs because your parents think it's cool? And then young people would not want to take drugs anymore because their parents think it's cool. So we have to be careful. So what we have to say to young people, librarians have to say, it's not illiteracy. We want to help you help yourself become the best student, the best university professor, the best CV, or whatever else. We add value. We can help you add value. So librarians have to be pragmatic. They can't just say, bad behavior, we'll improve it. You've got to say, we can help your outcomes. We can help your performance. So it's a positive message rather than a negative message. If they can do that, they'll succeed. The huge success of the digital information world is that people love it. The amount of use, the volume of use just goes up and up and up and up. It's just absolutely massive. So it's been a huge success story, is moving people into the virtual space for them to actually get their information. Librarians have been very helpful there. You know, they provided the facilities, universities, wherever, to do that. So they've managed to move everybody, lots of people, into this space where they love it. You know, just amazing amount of people, millions and millions of people. You know, percentage increase is phenomenal. It's a fantastic success story. And it's a wonderful success story because it says people need information, they use information, and it's great to have information all the time, on tap, as you want it. You know, that's how people want it. This is how we always wanted information, when we need it, not when the library was open. So, you know, that was it. So that's been, so in a sense, librarians have helped move people into this space, and people are loving it, is that in a sense, there's not much more that they can do other than moderate that amount. You know, so lots of noise, but some of that noise isn't very productive. It's people getting lost or not going to the places that they want. So they don't need to increase it. They need to moderate the worst accesses of it, in a sense. So they need to become helpers, guiders, advisors. It's running beautifully, but people just need, you know, nudging, that sort of thing. So they become nudgers, maybe nudgers. The more digital information you provide, the more it will be used. The more it will be used. So the more librarians make information digitally available, the more it will be used. So, you know, it's like stoking the fire, you know. Keep stoking, because the fire's burning really well, and that's the message. That is the positive message for librarians, is keep digitizing, because it is what they want.